What's going on, guys? Reaper here, and welcome to Reaper Declassified. So this is episode 2 of the Project 69 GTO War Angel. So if you guys saw episode 1, then you know the basics of this build and where we left off. So now, let's go ahead and get this thing moved and get to work.
Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud, never running out, never heading south. I'll be spreading out, call it word of mouth, can't put me down, I'll be getting loud. You can have your doubts, not what I'm about, have your cloud, it be raining now. I keep making sound, go another round, I'm legend bound, can't stop me now. You don't wanna fuck with me, a slow burn like a disease.
Okay, so the whole deal with that was couldn't pull the car up in here because every other f***ing car is up here. It actually worked great. The big one more so than the little one, but it took enough pressure off that even when it started getting up close to your bumper, it wasn't making contact. So, right on. Time to go to work. I'm gonna weld up all the holes on the firewall that don't need to be there. Get rid of all that. And I can get the money, replace the quarter panel on that side. If you guys remember when we came back from South Carolina, sideswiped a sign, all that, which is fine. That whole side was already screwed anyway, full of Bondo, and the way that they welded it up was shit. Just little holes here and there. I'm probably gonna fabricate this piece of the sail panel myself and weld it all back up and just do this all by hand. Like I said, this car's not going to be perfect by any means. Made this plate earlier to go ahead and fill that hole, so I might tack it in here this evening, ground those down there. Now, of course, as you can see, I started to go through and smooth the firewall, particularly this section here, which I went ahead and mostly finished, but there's a few things that I still need to get done on this portion. And then, of course, a few things over here, like the small holes that I never did quite finish up. There's various other things I left alone like that, and, right here as well, for the sole purpose to decide what I really wanted to do with it and not have to go through the painstaking process of redrilling or cutting holes that I may need to use later on down the road for this build. So one of the first things I started out with this build was the window channels on the A pillars. They were pretty much completely rotted out and beyond savable. Earlier in the year, I was working on it. I actually had Fat Tony come up here and teaching him a little bit of welding and whatnot on this thin sheet metal. Window channels are all rotted out. I started replacing pretty much everything to a degree, just piece by piece really, because it's, as you guys can tell, pretty nasty. So as you guys can see, I haven't quite finished the work with the A pillars here. Part of the reason for that was that I needed to figure out exactly where to cut here and finish the template for the rebuild down in these corners on both sides, and of course upper corner as well, and how I was going to mate the roof, because that entire thing was completely rotted out. The roof is still pretty much good, but the lip and window channel in here needed a full replacement. There is a company now that makes that whole piece, but before there was nobody doing that at the time, unless I just went and bought a full roof skin, and I did not want to do that. Now, when I did the window channels in the A pillars on the opposite side, I actually did it in 2 pieces just to try out and see what would work best. For this side, I ultimately wound up doing 1 piece that I bent and kind of got the curve and the channel proper. This wound up being a lot easier, of course, than doing it in 2 pieces. Big reason that I did it in 2 pieces on the opposite side was to Originally I thought it would just be easier, honestly. But also to kind of help me gauge how that channel needed to be before bending it, and ultimately wound up welding it in anyway. But by doing it in 2 pieces, I had to go back into the channel and grind all of that weld out. So if you replace the window channel on an A-pillar, try to do it in 1 piece. Get your bend right. Take your old piece and just bend it until you get it right where it needs to be, and then weld it in. So that way you got a little less welding, a little less grinding. Placed a little piece over there and just kind of jimmy jammered around with it. Actually got part of the floor pan for over here, from here back, that my buddy gave me off of his 69 SS that we worked on, because we just replaced that 1 piece and a few little patches here and there. So he gave me that, and I'm going to put it there and put it in there. Next order of business is, of course, the floor. The floor is 50-50 in this thing, I'd say. Alright guys, pretty much got this all cleaned out. Still a few little places here and there that need to be touched up, but pulled the wiring harness out of it. Front floor pan here's not completely toast, but mostly pretty thin. But the main thing that I wanted to address and get out of the way first was part of this hump in the floor section here in this area. The main reason for that was, obviously, as you guys can see now, there's a main hoop in this, which we'll get to in a later episode, but this whole thing all up in here, all the way up to here, was completely rotted out. And down in this area, and as you can see, there's still a section here that needs to be filled in. That's because part of the panel I used came from a replacement floor, quarter floor, that I cut out and used for following this this curve and contour here. And then I replaced this whole section, as you'll see here in just a second. Get that piece, it goes up in here, and try and get this knocked out and see what comes of that. Most of this whole piece from here to here is rotted out. I've gone ahead and pretty much drilled out the spot welds. It's looking like I'm gonna have to go down to about here to get into any good metal. Hey, I'm gonna take this panel here and get it cut up the pieces I need, come up through here and go across, and probably use that whole piece, because I've got quite a bit of rust up in here that's starting to go through. I'm gonna completely eliminate these. There won't even be a back seat in this thing, so get those removed. Got that all cut out, so put this piece in here, which I'll have a little filling to do. I have to cut a little strip to put in there. That's all that was left on that after we cut the piece out for my buddy Siobhan. So put that in there, and I'll probably go up in there and do some of that work. Fabricate the rest of that and start getting it tacked in tonight. So alright guys, pretty much got this whole thing welded back in, so this is all new metal again. Alright guys, so that's it for episode 2. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and in episode 3 we'll kind of start getting into a few other things that are a little bit different. But hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you in the next one. As always, stay frosty, ride or die, Reaper out.